And so it's my honor and privilege to invite our first keynote speaker, Dr. Judy White. Dr. Judy White is the founder of Mosaic, trustee of the college board, member of the board for CAASA, CEM, and Create Trust, and fellow for the Empathy Center. She served as the first Black and first woman elected in the role as the 12th Riverside County Superintendent of Schools. In her role, Dr. White worked with the county's 23 school districts and the staff at Riverside County Office of Education to ensure high-quality education that invests in our students while developing and sustaining strong collaborative relationships with students, teachers, parents, and the community for student success. Superintendent White was born in Los Angeles, California. She graduated with honors from Calhoun High School in San Bernardino and earned an academic scholarship to Occidental College, where she obtained a degree in sociology. Dr. White received a master's degree in education with an emphasis in counseling from California State University, San Bernardino, and a teaching credential from UC Irvine. She later attended UC Riverside for her administrative credential and Azusa Pacific University for her doctorate in educational leadership. She was the first Black to graduate with their doctorate from Azusa Pacific University. Dr. White has worked as a classified educator, a teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, deputy superintendent in San Bernardino City Unified School District, and superintendent of Moreno Valley Unified School District. The community calls her a history maker and stereotype breaker because of the numerous recognitions and accomplishments she has earned. To name a few, Palm Springs Rotary 2020 Citizen of the Year, 2019 IEEP Education Partner of the Year, 2019 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Legacy Award, Riverside Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity 2016 Community Member of the Year, Labor Management 2015 Collaborator, NAACP 2015 Educator of the Year. She was the 2017 Association of California School Administrators Region 19 Superintendent of the Year, and California Association of African American Superintendent and Administrators 2017 Superintendent of the Year also. She was Moreno Valley's 2014 Citizen of the Year, and to date, Dr. White has earned about 138 awards. Dr. White is wife of 41 years to Anthony Wayne White. Let's give her a round of applause for that. When Ron G was talking about marriage, it's not just 2 months. She's the mother of 4 children, grandmother of 10, and a member of the Living Way Christian Fellowship. She describes herself as a servant leader and has added value to every position that he has ever held by increasing graduation rates, empowering students through internships, and facilitating a citywide adoption, or a process of adopt a school. Dr. White, please come to the podium.
Well, I've never followed a comedian before, but I tell you one thing, I do have a story to tell. There are things that I would like to share, and I first would like to start off thanking Dr. Shanaka Damwa-Chukwu, and I wrote it down. And the people in this room, because as I look around at the tables, what I have found is that you can't lead unless somebody is going along with you. And there are many, many people in this room all of the awards that I received, it was because of the work that you've done, and I thank you in advance. So when we talk about navigating in the midst of uncertainties, I would like to move forward and let you know about from baby girl to Dr. White. So there should be a picture on the slide that shows from baby girl to Dr. White, and they mentioned many things in the bio, but I want you to know, to go from baby girl to Dr. White, it takes people, it takes faith, and it takes purpose, and it takes a plan. He talked about the plan in his descriptors about women having a plan, and you do have to have a plan. But I put that picture up there because sometimes people meet Dr. White, but they don't know the journey. And the journey actually came from being in a home with a mother who had a mental illness, but then you're always trying to figure out how do you navigate your way out. I am just pausing on that to remind you that I am the poster child of this region. The things that I faced as a child, I was able to overcome. So we have to start whatever we're doing with the belief system first. We have to believe that every single student in this region is capable of being whatever they want to be, matching their gifts with their interests, but it's the educators that are going to help with that pathway. So as we move forward, we talk about navigating to plan and direct the route, uncertainties, the times that have been unprecedented, the unpredictable times, the doubt, the apprehension, and we can't predict what we've gone through, and everybody has already emphasized some of the challenges. But as we move forward, I want you to know that the health pandemic and social justice pandemic hit hard in the Inland Empire. It hit hard. Something happened in the chamber of the governor's office in March of 2019. He invited all of the county superintendents, and he put us in a room, and he talked about what was getting ready to happen. He said, I want 2 commitments from you. One commitment that you will create distance learning, and the second commitment, guarantee that children will be fed. Those were the 2 things that he asked of the superintendents. So the county superintendents were in that room. But the other thing that he said was that you may not know, but there was that ship that was outside of the coast for a little bit of time. He said the reason why that ship was delayed and people weren't taken off the ship is because the pandemic was new. They called it the coronavirus at the time. But he said that nobody wanted to take them. That when people go on a cruise, there's people from all over the United States or all over countries, and that people in certain states says, don't bring them here. So they were actually abandoned on that ship. I shared that with you because he said, I said, they are a human being, let them come here, and if you remember back at the beginning, it was Oakland area, Bay Area, and San Diego area, and it was all new. But I'll tell you something. Here in the Inland Empire, there have been times when people have looked at people of color, especially our males, our boys of Latinx and African American descent, and they didn't want to take them. They didn't want to take them. They knew that they were somewhere. They admitted that there were challenges, but they did not create these opportunities for them to be successful. But we know that here in the Inland Empire, it's a new day. And it's a new day because of you. Each person that's in this room, for you to even sacrifice your time to come here, it's a new day, and we have data to show it. So what we want to do as we move forward, they asked me to talk on for a few minutes, leading the schools in the Inland Empire for a successful future high school graduation and access to college and career. So one of the things that I want you to remember is that if we just focus on our seniors, it will always be too late. We have to look at them from kindergarten. That's when it starts, how we interact with them, what we do with them, from there. But when you follow the path and you create these opportunities for learning, It has to be consistent. It can't be just one or two people. It has to be your entire organization that is bringing forward these opportunities for students to excel. So the first thing I'm going to say as we're moving forward is that decision makers align their budgets to the work. Do not tell me that you are serious about students succeeding and your budget does not reflect that. Your budget has to reflect it. When I was a little girl, my mother said, put your money where your mouth is. That's what she said. And that's what you have to do. If you really want to see if a system, an organization, what their priorities are, look at the budget. You have to believe in the potential of the students in the region, and you have to identify key personnel who are just responsible for that work. When it's just a general declaration or even just a goal and there's no one that's supposed to monitor it, that's when you get in trouble. There has to be a person designated. To give you an example, I want to shout out somebody's name, Catalina Cifuentes. She worked with me at Riverside County Office of Education, and she worked, and she worked, and she worked. But you have to have somebody that's leading the work. You also have that person monitor the data, and when they find that there's a problem, to say how are we going to overcome those barriers. You have to know where you're starting from, your baseline, and you have to measure what matters. If you don't measure what matters, things can get measured and you can talk about it, but if it's not going to lead to improvement, then you're measuring the wrong thing. And of course, in California, we have to meet the college career indicators, as well as our state indicators, our local, and our school site indicators. So then, while the dashboard can actually capture many things, it can't capture everything. And what we've learned over time is that there's nothing that will capture the individual's journey, and you looking at that person and speaking into them and saying, you can go to college, like the human connection. Every student needs to have someone at that school site, in addition to their family members, that are speaking into them and saying that they can be the best that they can be, and that they can achieve their goals. So when they talk about being prepared for college, it's not just being academically prepared, but you got to be prepared in your mind that you can make it. We need to also take a look at the fit. So going to college is one thing, but sometimes we're so happy to say somebody went somewhere that is not a fit for them. I had children in my own family that went to colleges, reputable colleges, but it wasn't a fit. So you want to look at the fit. And sometimes the fit is community college. Sometimes the fit is a school that might not have that type of reputation, because you can go to a school and then be lost in a gymnasium that's so large that you can't even take your notes. And sometimes schools are given the comment of being a party school. So if you know that child has a party gene in them, you don't want to send them to the party school. So we've got to really, really pay attention. So I'm going to take just a few minutes to talk about the expectation and the response as we're moving forward on slide 8. So one of the expectations as we've been moving people forward is to complete rigorous coursework. So the response has been in the region, professional development. So you have to make sure when you're talking about rigorous coursework, whether it's at the site or another level, are you providing the professional development that's going to help provide the rigorous coursework? To pass, one of the expectations was to pass challenging exams such as AP exam, the IB exam. In our region, we've had Saturday schools at the university campuses, both at San Bernardino and at UCR, where students are bussed in all over the county to actually improve their skill set so that they can be successful taking those exams. But the other thing that happened is that the professional development was taking place at the same time so that the teachers can hone their skills. Expectation to receive the state seal, there's course offerings, and you have to think about how you're building your master schedules. One of the expectations for completing technical educational partnerships, you have to expand the offerings, and those offerings have to be aligned to the industry. You do not want children excited about a field that's not going to exist, or by the time they graduate, it leads to no jobs. the dual enrollment has been one of the most powerful partnerships that we've had to help students gain their college credits while they're doing their high school credits. And the A through G completion, as Dr. Morales spoke earlier, it is a target and it is an indicator. But do you have transcript analysis with robust summer school? So in our regions, and they might call it different things, but we found that if we analyze the transcripts of students at the 11th grade to see are they on track, then we're able to say, let's make some corrections. Let's offer some classes that if they need them on Saturdays or during the breaks or during the summer. So you can't just acknowledge something and then not shift to be responsive to that. People keep talking about a 4-year plan, but some of the schools that are making the greatest growth, it's a 5-year plan. So you start in the 9th grade, but it's a 5-year plan so that they know what they're trying to do that 5th year, the first year past graduation. So it's really the 5-year plan and not a 4-year plan. Finances for college was a big challenge, so our expectations, how do we help our students to be exposed to more finances? Then the FAFSA completion became a high target. That became a major target, making sure that students were completing the FAFSA. We worked so hard, when I say we, the 2 counties together, that it got the attention of our state superintendent, and they ended up creating a FAFSA completion program that was similar to what we were doing in our region. And so that was good. And they did that for across the state, so that was important. And you know who came to celebrate winners? Because we ended up identifying schools that had 90, 95% FAFSA completion, and that's really high, because the average was more like 50, 52. And you know who we brought to celebrate with them? Gabrielle Union. And do you think that they like that? Yeah, they like that a lot. And so, but she spoke to them and she told them that they had to remember a lot of things that they do as actors, it's all false. She told them that the clothes that she wears is all borrowed. So they're working, instead of saving up for tuition, they're trying to imitate actors and actresses and wear those clothes. She said, these aren't even our clothes. We just get to model them for you guys so you guys will spend your money and buy it. And we send them back the next day. But the reason why I share that with you, because there's little simple things that you can say to a student, to a child, to help them refocus their finances and refocus what they're doing. We also, when we look at expectation, we know that the AVID programs are some of the highest predictors. So those of you that are doing AVID is still alive and well. Continue to do that. So we're going to go to some groundbreaking partnerships as we move forward. And what it is that one of the best groundbreaking partnerships was the Growing Inland Achievement right here. And I'll tell you, it started with the vision. When I was part of that board, I think they were only a few years in, but I'll tell you, one of the best things we could have done was to hire Dr. Carlos Ayala. With Growing Inland Achievement, you had both county superintendents and the college presidents for both Riverside and San Bernardino that met regularly. And you could not send a sub. You had to show up. And it put a priority on that effort. And so we've been working together to try to see what can we do as a region. And that's why it's so important. A lot of times people say, you know, I'm an alumni of Cal State San Bernardino, but I'm also an alumni of UCR, and I'm an alumni of UC Irvine and Azusa Pacific and Occidental. But the point of the matter is, it's working together, collaborating, and sharing best practices. There was a time that at high schools, everybody was competing. They wanted the highest test scores, they wanted the highest graduation rates. But once people started sharing what they're doing, then everybody improves. And then you get to the colleges, and they're competing, they want to have the best ranking. But when you work together, that's how you improve. Even if you go to the level of a family, families want to be able to say, oh, my child went here or my child went there. But what about when you share the resources and the ideas and the thoughts? Then that's how you benefit. So if anything that you walk away when you're in a conference like this, you want to walk away with the thoughts that sharing is better. Sharing is better, and it doesn't take anything away from you when you share with another group. When a teacher shares with another teacher, it doesn't take anything away from that. When a principal shares with another principal, it doesn't take anything away from that principal. And that's what the inner part that we have to understand how we get better. The College Board, which I'm a trustee over, we started a program for scholarships where if students actually apply for the FAFSA, they get in a pool, and if they apply from 4 or more colleges, they get in a pool, and at the time if they took the SAT, so every time they applied, they would be able to get in this pool. And we gave out $4 million in scholarships from drawing those names. And even during the pandemic, on Good Morning America, you would see the students were invited, who the winners were, and they were told that they were just going to be given, they were going to have an opportunity to talk on Good Morning America about their college decisions, why they were going to certain colleges, and they were told at that meeting that they were receiving scholarships, $40,000 for some of them, $50,000 for some of them. That's big money. That's big money. And many of them cried because they didn't know how they were going to close that gap of where they were trying to go. And then groundbreaking partnerships, Cal State University, San Bernardino, along with UCR, working together in partnership. And then let's not forget culturally relevant practices. That has to be part of what we're doing. If you were to look at the districts that have really focused on culturally relevant practices, we have evidence now that the gap for graduation rates are less than 2%. And we have one district in our bi-county region, Val Verde, the African-American graduation rate is now the highest. And that has never happened. That superseded all groups. You still have to know that I'm an advocate for all students, every single student. But we point out sometimes the African American because traditionally they have not been as successful. If you look at the national rates, there are some states that only 50% of the African Americans graduate from high school, 50%. There are some states that are that low. So when you get to California, maybe the state rates are hovering around 78. But in our county, our African American graduation rates have reached 88%, 90, 93. And so that means that we are addressing their needs. The internships have been powerful because you want to know what have we been doing to help. The internships where students are working so that they know, why am I even going to school? What I want to do, is this the job that I want? One Future, Coachella Valley, has been very, very powerful in the Riverside County region, where they not only give a scholarship for 1 year, but they give scholarships for 4 years, and then the students have to come back and they're in cohorts and working together. We have foundations in both counties, and you have to make sure that you are paying attention to every single student. They're no longer just a name, just a number, but they are a name. They are a human being. And when the artist, I'll call him the artist, the comedian, talked about the students they're different. It is different. When I see my granddaughter putting a mask around her stuffed animals, she's thinking I have to protect the stuffed animals, and she's in her house. So they're being wired differently, even with technology. And so we have to pay attention. So as a grandma, you always get these grandma stories, and a couple of you have heard me tell this one before, and I call it the tooth fairy. And when my grandson spent the night with me, he's now 22, but when he was 5, he spent the night, and he said, Grandma, he said, my tooth came out. Do you think the tooth fairy would come and give me some money? And I'm like, oh, yes, she'll come. Just put the tooth under the pillow, and she'll come. So I waited till he was fast asleep, and I went in there, and I was looking at his sweet little face, and then I went to put my hand under the pillow, and there was an envelope there. And I pulled it out, and the envelope said, Dear Tooth Fairy, my name is Christopher. I am 5 years old, and I'm working on a special project. I need $5. And so I looked at that and I said, oh, my Christopher, he knows how to spell these words, and the capitals are in a special place. Everything is lined up, and I was looking at the letter, and I ran back. I took the dollar back and put it in my purse. I got the $5 out and put it under there. So the next morning, he comes and he says, Grandma, the tooth fairy came. And guess what? She gave me $5. And I said, oh, how wonderful. He said, but she didn't take my tooth. And so I had gotten so excited about the letter that I forgot the tooth. And I said, oh, Christopher, I said, I know the tooth fairy. She's a friend of mine. I said, give me the tooth and I'll make sure she gets it. He said, okay, and he just walked away. But I share that story because we forget sometimes. We see a flash, we see data, we see all these things. But why do we want them to have college and career? We want quality of life. That's what we want, quality of life, and then we are just exchanging it. We're forgetting what we're going after. And that's what I want you to remember, that we have these discussions not for just the data, not for to say we've got better systems of tracking. We want quality of life for every single person. When I was a child, when my birthday came around, and I closed my eyes to make my wish, you're not supposed to tell the wish because they say it won't come true. I remember wishing that my parents were together. I remember wishing that my mother was healthy. I wasn't wishing for toys. I was wishing for quality of life. But during the pandemic, when we had the birthday party for my granddaughter, who's 7 now, we told her to blow out her candles, and she said, but I don't have a wish. She said, I don't want anything. I have everything I need. So that's 2 generations down, but it's about quality of life. We want every student in this region, if they are wishing for something over a cake, that it not be quality of life. And so the only way that can happen is for us to make sure that we are actually doing what's necessary, that we use these types of conferences to come together, share best information, and be as good in our follow-through. How many times have we gone somewhere, we got excited, we heard about a system, and then when it was time to implement, we got busy. So there will be things that will distract you, but do remember that you want the quality of life. So as I'm coming to a close, we in the Inland Empire, we remove barriers. And this resulted in Riverside County having 90.2% high school graduation rates for the whole county. And it was the largest, it was #1 in counties larger than 25,000. We beat Orange County. And I know that LA County is here with us too, but you always have to have a little bit of a competitive spirit. So we beat LA County too, but the fact of the matter, it wasn't about just becoming #1. That means we help more students be able to graduate, but you have to say, where were they on their 5th year? And we've increased college-going rates in this region. We've increased the A through G completion rates. So I leave you this quote. The first one is from Daniel Milstein. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. And then my quote, let's continue to succeed on purpose as we choose excellence on purpose. Thank you very much.